Pauline Este, the quickness for New York Liberty, gets the assignment on Caitlin Clark. Rebecca Allen with her size on Kelsey Mitchell.
Clark sheds her, fires, and hits.
How many steps did she take, though?
I didn't count those ones. Meanwhile, Mitchell on the other end. Here's Clark, looking to shed, will fire. Can't hit. Jones loses it. Timpson tips it out. Mitchell's turn. She got it. Clark driving, taking, and splashing. Here's Clark. Trying to drag out Stewart. Finds help in Mitchell. Mitchell's jumper is good.
The Liberty were working on that in their shoot around today. If they get the screen up top and then get the ball to the weak side to the open shooter.
Mitchell again. Kelsey Mitchell feeling it early.
And certainly a player you need to put a body on.
Clark connects on a deep three. This is one of the all-time greatest players in the history of this league. As Mitchell knocks in a three. So everyone's going to be all over Mitchell and Clark and Boston. Well, they do now. They also, the former league and finals MVP, this year's all-star MVP, Clark again. Kate saying she wishes people could see just how excited they all get to play basketball with one another, how connected they are to the coaching staff as well.
What looked like a normal August matchup quickly turned into another statement performance from the Indiana Fever. The headline started with a simple statistic: Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark combined for 38 points in the first half. Mitchell had 20 points, shooting 8 of 11 from the field and a perfect 3 of 3 from three-point range. Clark added 18 points while knocking down 4 of her 5 attempts from beyond the arc. That means the two guards combined to shoot 7 of 8 from 3, an incredible 87.5%. And there was a bigger reason this mattered. This wasn't just one player getting hot while the other watched. Indiana was attacking New York with two completely different threats at the same time. Mitchell was relentlessly creating scoring opportunities and punishing defensive gaps, while Clark was stretching the floor and making New York pay whenever defenders gave her even a little room. The result was immediate. Indiana's offense was operating at a pace the Liberty struggled to match. And the crazy part is that the first half explosion wasn't a fluke. Just days earlier, Indiana had beaten Chicago 90-86 behind 26 points and 11 assists from Clark and 27 points from Mitchell. Mitchell was also riding an extraordinary streak of consecutive 20-point games. So when these two started raining threes against New York, it wasn't happening in isolation. It was the continuation of a much bigger trend. The Fever had found something that could become extremely dangerous heading toward the most important part of the season. Clark and Mitchell weren't simply taking turns scoring, they were making each other harder to defend. And New York was about to find out just how difficult that combination could be. The most interesting part of Indiana's offensive explosion wasn't simply the number of points. It was the way those points were being created. When Caitlin Clark is hitting shots from deep, a defense has a difficult decision to make. Give her space, and she can punish you with the three. Press up too aggressively, and you risk opening driving lanes or creating opportunities for her teammates. Now add Kelsey Mitchell to that equation. Mitchell doesn't need a huge number of possessions to become dangerous. She can get into her shot quickly, attack closeouts, and score before a defense has time to reset. Against New York, she was doing exactly that. And Clark's shooting made the problem even worse. During that first half, Clark connected on 4 of 5 three-point attempts. That meant New York couldn't simply treat her as a passer and force someone else to beat them. Every defensive adjustment created another problem. If the Liberty stayed home on Clark, Mitchell could attack. If they chased Mitchell, Clark could find space. And if both defenders tried to stay attached to the two guards, Indiana could use the attention those players were attracting to create opportunities elsewhere. That's what makes a backcourt like this dangerous. Basketball isn't just about individual scoring totals. It's about how one player's presence changes what the defense can do to everyone else. And Indiana's first-half shooting forced New York into exactly that uncomfortable situation. The Fever weren't winning because they had one superstar carrying the entire offense. They were winning because two high-level perimeter scorers were creating problems simultaneously. For Clark, there was another layer to the story. After missing significant time earlier in the season, every explosive performance carries additional meaning. Her ability to score at this level while also functioning as Indiana's primary playmaker gives the Fever another dimension that opponents have to prepare for. Mitchell, meanwhile, has continued to provide the veteran scoring punch Indiana needs. Put those pieces together, and suddenly the Fever aren't relying on one answer. They have multiple answers. And that became especially important once the game moved into the second half, because the biggest question was no longer whether Indiana could score. It was whether New York could find a way to slow them down. The first half had already sent the message. Caitlin Clark was shooting the lights out. Kelsey Mitchell was nearly impossible to contain. And together, they had put 38 points on the scoreboard before halftime. But great shooting doesn't automatically win a basketball game. The real test comes when the opponent gets a chance to adjust. Coming out of halftime, New York had to figure out how to take away the easy looks without giving Indiana even bigger opportunities somewhere else. That is where the game became more interesting. Because once a defense starts chasing shooters, the floor opens up. Clark can attack the space in front of her. Mitchell can use a closeout against the defender. And Indiana can move the ball until someone gets the matchup they want. That's why the Fever's lead in the third quarter mattered. They weren't simply surviving after an incredible first half. They were carrying that offensive momentum into the second half. And for Indiana, that is an encouraging sign. A team can occasionally catch fire from three for a few minutes. But maintaining control after the opponent has had time to adjust is a different challenge entirely. This is where Clark's value goes beyond her scoring. Even when the shots aren't falling, she can influence the game with her passing, pace, and ability to draw defensive attention. Mitchell provides another scoring option that prevents defenses from putting all their resources toward Clark. That combination creates a difficult balancing act. Take away Clark, and Mitchell can punish you. Take away Mitchell, and Clark gets more room. Try to defend both aggressively, and Indiana can exploit the openings created elsewhere. That's the bigger story behind those 38 first-half points. The numbers were spectacular, but the spacing and pressure behind those numbers were even more important. For the Fever, this was becoming less about one hot quarter and more about whether their backcourt could dictate the game for 4 quarters. And if they could maintain that level of efficiency, New York wasn't just fighting the scoreboard. They were fighting an offensive system built around two guards who were both having one of their best shooting nights. By the time the game reached its final stages, the biggest takeaway wasn't simply that Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell had scored 38 points in the first half. It was how dangerous Indiana can look when both guards are clicking at the same time. Clark's 18 first-half points came on 5 of 9 shooting, including 4 of 5 from 3. Mitchell was even more efficient, scoring 20 on 8 of 11 shooting while going a perfect 3 of 3 from deep. Those aren't empty numbers. They show what happens when Indiana gets confident shooting, moves the ball, and forces a defense to respect multiple threats simultaneously. For Clark, nights like this reinforce why her presence changes the way opponents have to defend Indiana. For Mitchell, it continues a remarkable stretch of scoring that has made her one of the Fever's most dependable offensive weapons. And perhaps that's the most important development. Indiana doesn't have to choose between Clark and Mitchell. When one gets hot, the other can keep the defense honest. When both get hot, the opponent can quickly find itself in trouble. That's exactly what happened in this game. The Fever's challenge now is consistency. One spectacular shooting night can win a game, but championship-level teams have to reproduce that pressure night after night, especially when opponents know exactly what is coming. Still, this performance offered a glimpse of what Indiana can become when its backcourt is fully synchronized. Caitlin Clark shooting. Kelsey Mitchell scoring. and the Fever controlling the game. If Indiana can turn that combination into a regular occurrence, opponents around the league may have a very different problem on their hands.